Hello, everyone. This is Fahim Jackson, and it's episode 71 of my podcast show, In the Know. This is a short form podcast show which is aimed at putting people in the know with a variety of topics, using my experiences and viewpoints in life to put people in that know. Now, what is in the know? Is using my understanding of the experiences to guide you through the world. The following is an intro speech into the topic of today. And that introduction speech is regarding opening up to homeschooling our children. I myself was not homeschooled, but you have to ask some questions regarding the decision to proceed as a parent. You have to ask yourself, do you want your child or children to be separate from the system that has traditionally taught students? Because we want our children to be able to focus, and what better way to focus than with you teaching them? But then again, as a parent, you want your child to have the best opportunity to learn. So you have to ask yourself another question. Can I do a better job than the school systems? And with this pandemic leading to so much job loss, you won't be seeing too many parents sitting at home educating their children. Is homeschooling a good option for student learning? Homeschooling. This is a form of learning where school-aged children are taught at home or some close location by their parents, tutor, or an online educator. This learning comes as a result of the parent having their own personal views regarding the current educational system. The biggest reasons as to why the parents might choose to do so has to do with wanting to teach their religion from the household and into the kids' curriculum. Another reason for the learning space to be contained to home would be for the parents concerned about the learning space. Schools have fights and bullying as well as the concern of the shootings that take place in schools. Parents want their child to be safe and at home learning, which is the safest measure. Next comes the instructional learning of parents that feel are not up to par, which will not contribute to the success of their child within traditional schools. So, homeschool gives them the opportunity to teach what their child need to know in their eyes. And another major reason would be the fact that kid has a special need or mental health concern, which learning at school gives them the ability to be at home, not trying to be mobile around the school. In school learning. While in school, you are not only learning to keep up with the academic teachings, but you're trying to figure out how to communicate with the students around you. Now, the vast majority of the learning experiences of young people are going to be in school. The classroom is where you can hone your skills. You are not being compared to the others around your age. When you're at home, who do you compare yourself to? Because in school, you need to understand rank. And this is how we decide your place in the classroom. Your rank also will help you get into college. How do you rank once you get into college if you've been homeschooled? You can, of course, take the ACT and SAT, but there are still so many issues with not going into a schoolhouse. Teachers' view. As an educator, they would most likely prefer the kid in the classroom. The teacher understands that there are going to be kids that need to be taught outside of the classroom, but for the most part, they would prefer they stay in the classroom. The educator can gauge the classroom overall when everyone is together. You have to get to a consensus together to understand where the students stand, meaning there are 30 kids in the classroom, then you have grades from all of them. You can look overall at all the kids in the classroom and figure out where people stand once you get the grade average of the class. There will be some at the top and some at the bottom, with most in the middle. This will also aid the educator in their ability to teach as well and deciding who needs the help more than others. Parents' view. A parent in today's society might want to consider homeschooling, but from observing the pandemic, they might reconsider. Prior to the lockdown, kids were in school, but now they're at home, and with parents forced to stay with them, you're seeing parents ready for them to go back to school. So the idea of embracing homeschooling is out of the question. Now, in addition to this, parents have to work. So trying to stay home and figure out how to educate their children is out of the question. Trust and believe there are still, with pandemic lockdown, parents who, if they could, would teach their own children. Do I think it's the majority? No. But there is still a good deal of parents who agree with this method of teaching for their children. Children's views. In my opinion, this would be something that the kid would hate themselves. Now, the only reason they would like this is if this is all they knew. But in today's society, so many kids go to school, and very few are homeschooled. It would feel awkward for the kid. Children are already showing issues through this pandemic as a sign of the lockdown. The motivation of the kids have been lowered because they have to learn remotely, which is why trying to homeschool children is such a difficult task. They also may want to make friends that you make typically in school. If you make friends in the neighborhood you live in, that's going to be tough because your connection to people your age is going to be awkward. You're with an adult all day, so your ability to communicate with your own age is jilted. But the other reason this might be tough for a kid is because being indoors all day and not having the ability to move about is stifling for a child's growth. Costs to the parent. As a parent, the cost of homeschooling a child ranges from $700 to $1,800 a year. So when you observe the cost, that is actually not that bad for personal face-to-face education. You don't even have to go off to a college yourself as the parent, which is also a way to keep the cost down, because a high school diploma is necessary to educate in some college with certain courses. When you're talking, then most kids that are homeschooled have two parents in the household. The cost is really low when split between two people. Cost to the system. As for the United States government, the cost per year for a child to the system is a lot less money. Can you imagine how much the United States government would save if more parents would be willing to do so? Like I said above, the $1,800 is beyond low cost. But there are other reasons the government has students in schools besides at home. You have the food that children get to eat in schools that most don't get at home. This is also factored into the government cost of education. So if the system encourages the kids to learn at home, then how do they provide meals to the kids? Well, they don't. What about the books that kids are reading from? What would be the new raw materials? Well, they would be all digital, which is problematic in other ways, such as staring into a computer screen all day, as well as publishing companies forced to lay people off because they're not printing physical books through their companies. Interpersonal relationships. This is the big reason as to why we want to reconsider making children stay at home and learn. Because think about it. How do young people learn to socialize? They're around people their age all day. This is how they make friends and resolve problems. So removing them from this natural environment places them behind in their ability to communicate. Also, they need to be able to have connections or conversations with their educators because this will aid when they are back in school as they get older, which most students are not homeschooled by the time they reach middle school or high school, and thrusted into this space where no one is scary, especially when college is not that far off. College bound. Imagine being a young person who was educated at home all growing up, and you had to go off to college not long after. The communication would be different because you probably don't talk like most your age. But the culture shock is something so much different stepping onto a campus. Most young people get homeschooled, educated for religious purposes. But even attending a religious school, like for instance, Texas Christian or Brigham Young, it is such a jump from what you're used to. Not all the kids attending will be in the position as you, if any. So you have to step up to the learning curve quick. Now ask yourself something, especially as a parent. Can your kid handle this? Or will they fold from the pressure of this new world? The end statement. Why we have to be open to options like homeschooling. Homeschooling was very popular in the past time periods. As the rise in attending public and private schools took hold, parents had no reason to do so because it was more economical to send their kid to an actual schoolhouse. Also, as time went on, the need for both parents to work and kids needed a little more learning in a variety of subjects. So what happened was a change. Now, there will always be the chosen few who stick to their guns. Also, this could potentially put your child in a position that most their age won't be in, which is missing out on face-to-face academic and social communication skills they receive in school. That doesn't mean that homeschooling is the worst method. Having a one-on-one outside the classroom means there is more attention paid to your child that they otherwise wouldn't get in a school. Yet the golden standard of today is attending a place of education, whether it be public or private. Now, could things change in the future being homeschooled? It could. And with the way technology is advancing, that could very well be the case. But for now, we're going to stick to the traditional methods of educating our children. So, thank you for listening to In the Know, and can't wait to bring up the next set of episode topics. These will be geared towards religion, as I am wrapping up this last episode with education. So religion will cover what is it, why do we have it, our personal beliefs, and its impacts on our lives.